Welcome to Islam with Aslan, where we uncover the deep and often overlooked stories of Islamic history from around the world. Today we take a journey across the African continent to explore the rich and diverse history of Islam in Africa, a story that spans over 1,400 years, filled with powerful empires, legendary rulers, centers of scholarship, and enduring cultural legacies. If you enjoy content that brings Islamic history to life, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Islam with Aslan for more engaging episodes. The story of Islam in Africa begins during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In the year 615 CE, a group of his followers, facing persecution in Mecca, sought refuge in the Christian kingdom of Aksum, located in present-day Ethiopia. The Christian king, known as the Negus or Al-Najashi, welcomed them and granted them protection. This early migration, known as the First Hijrah, marked the first contact between Islam and Africa. It was a moment of mutual respect and understanding that set the tone for centuries of interaction between Muslims and Africans. After the Prophet's passing, peace be upon him, Islam began to spread rapidly beyond the Arabian Peninsula. By the end of the 7th century, Arab Muslim armies had moved westward into Egypt. Alexandria fell in 642 CE, and from there, Islam spread across North Africa. Carthage, in present-day Tunisia, was taken in 698 CE, ending Byzantine control in the region. Over the next few decades, Islam spread through Libya, Algeria, and Morocco. The indigenous Berber people of North Africa initially resisted the Arab conquests. However, over time, many converted to Islam, drawn by its teachings and its unifying cultural and legal framework. One of the most notable Berber Muslims was Tariq ibn Ziyad. In 711 CE, he led the Muslim forces across the Strait of Gibraltar into the Iberian Peninsula, initiating the centuries-long Islamic presence in Spain. The name Gibraltar comes from Jabal Tariq, meaning Mountain of Tariq, commemorating his role in this pivotal moment in European and African's Islamic history. While North Africa became part of the Islamic world through military and political expansion, Islam spread to sub-Saharan Africa in a different way through trade. Muslim merchants traveled along trans-Saharan trade routes, exchanging salt, gold, and goods with West African kingdoms. These interactions were not only economic, but also cultural and religious. The Ghana Empire, flourishing from the 9th to the 11th century in present-day Mauritania and Mali, had Muslim advisors and merchants within its cities, though the ruling elite initially maintained traditional beliefs. As trade intensified, so did the influence of Islam, particularly among urban elites and scholars. In the 13th century, the Mali Empire emerged as a major Islamic state under the leadership of Sundiata Keita, but it was under Mansa Musa, who reigned from 1312 to 1337, that Mali gained global recognition. A devout Muslim, Mansa Musa made a famous pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324. He traveled with a caravan of thousands, distributing so much gold along the way that it caused inflation in parts of the Middle East. His journey highlighted the wealth of West Africa and the strength of Islam in the region. Upon returning from his pilgrimage, Mansa Musa invested heavily in Islamic institutions. He invited scholars, architects, and jurists to Mali and transformed Timbuktu into a renowned center of Islamic learning. The city became home to libraries, mosques, and schools, including the famed Sankore University, which attracted students from across Africa and the wider Muslim world. As Mali's power declined, the Songhai Empire rose in the 15th century, continuing the legacy of Islamic governance and scholarship. Its greatest ruler, Askia Muhammad I, came to power in 1493. He reformed the legal and educational systems, aligned governance with Islamic principles, and made his own pilgrimage to Mecca. Timbuktu flourished further under his rule, with scholars writing texts on theology, law, astronomy, and medicine. Meanwhile, in East Africa, Islam spread along the Swahili coast through maritime trade with Arabia and Persia. From as early as the 9th century, Muslim merchants settled in coastal cities such as Kilwa, Mombasa, and Mogadishu. These settlements developed into powerful city-states, blending African and Islamic cultures. Arabic script was used to write Swahili, and coral stone mosques sprang up along the coast, many of which still stand today. This coastal Islam was more commercial and urban in nature, deeply rooted in trade networks that connected Africa to the wider Indian Ocean world. In the Horn of Africa, Islam had a strong early presence. By the 10th century, much of the Somali population had embraced Islam. The Ajuran Sultanate, which ruled parts of modern Somalia from the 13th to 17th centuries, maintained Islamic law and governance. They built advanced irrigation systems and fortified cities, linking inland regions to the coastal trade networks and further integrating Islamic culture into the region. Further inland, Islam reached the Sahel region through merchants and missionaries. The Kanem-Bornu Empire, centered around Lake Chad, began to adopt Islam under Mayuma Jilmi in the 11th century. By the 13th century, Islam was the dominant religion among the ruling class. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Islamic revivalist movements took root, particularly among the Fulani people. One of the most significant figures was Usman dan Fodio. In 1804, he launched a religious and social reform movement in present-day northern Nigeria. His efforts led to the creation of the Sokoto Caliphate, which became a major center of Islamic scholarship and governance, influencing a vast region of West Africa. In southern Africa, Islam arrived through a different route. During the 17th and 18th centuries, the Dutch East India Company brought enslaved Muslims and political exiles from Indonesia, India, and East Africa to the Cape Colony in South Africa. Among these early Muslims was Tuan Guru, a respected scholar from the Indonesian archipelago. While imprisoned by Dutch authorities in Cape Town, he wrote the Quran entirely from memory and composed numerous Islamic texts. Upon his release, he helped establish South Africa's first mosque, the Awal Mosque, in 1794. His efforts laid the foundation for the Cape Malay Muslim community, which remains an integral part of South Africa's religious and cultural landscape today. During the colonial era of the 19th and 20th centuries, Islam faced new challenges. European colonial powers often viewed Islamic institutions with suspicion, yet in many parts of Africa, they could not suppress the deep-rooted faith of the people. In fact, Islamic schools and religious networks often served as bastions of resistance against colonial rule. One notable figure was Samurai Toure, a devout Muslim and military leader who resisted French expansion in West Africa during the late 19th century. His struggle is remembered as both a fight for political independence and the preservation of Islamic identity. Today, Islam is practiced by more than 500 million people across Africa, making up nearly half of the continent's population. From the ancient mosques of Timbuktu to the bustling Islamic centers of Lagos and Cairo, the legacy of Islam in Africa is vibrant, diverse, and deeply intertwined with the continent's identity. Islam in Africa is not a marginal or borrowed tradition. It is an indigenous and enduring force that has shaped art, architecture, law, learning, and community life for over a millennium. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the remarkable history of Islam in Africa. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Islam with Aslan for more powerful stories from across the Islamic world. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Until next time, peace be upon you.